Brought to you by Crimson Cult Media.
We got you now.
No turning back.
Welcome to
Moths to the Flame.
Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back, Morbid Moss. I'm so excited. Today we have a wonderful guest, T.L. Bodine. Very exciting things to come. Thank you for joining us on the pod today, T.L.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
You are so welcome. T.L., Tiana, love that name, is the author of River of Souls, the Wattpad exclusive The Hound, which Wattpad Studios is adapting into a film. Can't wait to talk about that. And Neverest, a supernatural thriller atop Mount Everest that came out in April of this year from Ghost Orchid Press. She's interested in uncanny, fantastic things and the way real people with real problems interact with them. When not writing, she could usually be found watching horror movies, whoop whoop, playing story-heavy video games, or experimenting in the kitchen. Oh dear, okay. She lives in New Mexico with her husband David and 2 small dogs. So welcome to the pod, Tiana. How are you today?
Oh, I am doing great. It's starting to cool off, finally. We've had just a brutal summer, and then Halloween happened, and it's like, you know what? We're gonna freeze.
Yeah, I mean, what the fuck? It's like no fall for you guys. Like, fuck you guys. You're gonna have to. It's winter.
Summer, freezing. Nothing in
Somebody
between.
call Ned Stark. Winter has fucking come, okay? And I'm not okay with it. So, yes, definitely. Yeah. Okay, so that's perfect because you wrote a book about Mount fucking Everest. Hello, coldest, highest place in the world. What inspired you to write supernatural thrillers like Neverest and The Hound? Like, where do these ideas come from?
So, all over the place in general. A lot of times, I'm somebody who I think a lot of times I'm writing to answer a question for myself or like try to understand something.
Oh.
And so with Neverest, a big part of it is like, why? Why do people keep doing this? Why do people still climb this damn mountain? Like, what's the deal? I don't get it.
Yes.
Like,
pretty views.
like, come on, guys. It's not worth it.
Yeah, well, I guess for some it is, though, right? I mean, I'm sure in researching, the challenge of it all, I guess.
Yeah, like, it's been a wild kind of research ride getting through it. Like, that particular time, I remember I had read some article, or like stumbled across like some, collection of stuff. It's like, the dead bodies on Mount Everest. And I don't know why, but it had never occurred to me until that very moment. I'm like, wait a second. If you die up there, you're just there.
You're there forever.
There. Welcome
you're one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
one with the mountain.
You're not going to decay. Like, it's too cold. Nothing lives there. It's like a freezer.
Yeah.
This is your final resting place. It's like, that's wild to me.
That's morbid.
And so I just went on like a whole quest. I'm like, I don't get it. Why? And then like people are spending tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars to retrieve bodies even.
Yes.
And people will put lives at risk to do that. And it's like, but why though? And so I wanted to get into that headspace and like dig into that as deep as I could and like try to understand, well, who are these people? Where are they coming from? What's making this work?
Okay.
And like, what if it's an even worse idea than they think it is? Like, what else is up there?
Oh, scandalous. I like it. So that was going to be one of my next questions. Did you have any aspirations of ever climbing the mountain? And I'm going to assume no.
God, no. I am not a person who climbs things, just historically. Like a flight of stairs. I max out real early.
Same. I like to call myself indoorsy because
exactly.
Not one with nature at all. So like I like to go out there and commune with it occasionally and then come back inside into my comfy home and read about it. Love
Big
that.
same.
Yeah.
I had the realization a long time ago. Like if I'm ever being chased by a bear, I'm just gonna die. I've made peace with this. Like the zombie horde is coming with.
Done.
Bring it on, guys. It's
same.
Fine.
I literally have the same mentality about that. I'm like, all these, a post-apocalyptic shits and they're running from the creatures. And I'm like, but do we need to? Like, because this bitch is not going to get very far. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
The slow friend
too
that
much
you want to
cardio
like,
for me.
yeah, no, I'd already be, and my husband and I talk about this all the time. We're like, if we didn't have our medication, like, take me out. I'm not trying to participate in life without that. Like, no, thank you. Just I'd like to become a zombie. That would be fine.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Like,
yeah.
given the option, come the zombie
Yeah.
apocalypse, I'm on the side of the zombies.
Totally.
Let's just get it over with.
We're on the zombie side, just so everybody knows. Don't fuck with us if the zombie apocalypse comes.
Team zombies.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Okay, so that also sounds like a really good story. I feel like you need to have Neverest 2s that the zombies have risen. Like all of the corpses on Mount Everest come back to life. And it's like, hey, why are you guys on this mountain? This is our mountain now, bitch. Like, I love that. So how long did it take you to write the book?
Neverest came together the first draft pretty quickly. I was writing it and, was getting like the very earliest versions. Like I had parts of it up on Wattpad and I'm like getting some feedback. I'm like, is this even worth pursuing? Like, does anyone want this? And it's like, okay, yeah, this is pretty good. I think there's something here, but it's not there. So I set that aside. Like that first part probably went through, I don't know, 3-4 months, get it all drafted out.
Yeah.
And then it just sat and did nothing for like 2 years. And then I'm like, okay, hang on. I should go back to that and fix it. And so I pulled it out, completely revamped it, added a bunch of stuff, took away some stuff, changed like the narration, like just gave it a whole facelift.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then by that point, I don't know, that was probably another active 8 to 10 months worth of work on it. It's like a year and some change total, probably.
Yeah.
With a big old rest period in between.
Okay, yeah, some time to mull over the details and really just settle with it. Yeah. I think that's something that a lot of writers, you hear it in the beginning when you first start writing, and you're like, okay, yes, when I have separation from my piece, I'll come back to it with fresh eyes. But like, when you actually come back to something with like really fucking fresh eyes, you haven't seen it in a year or 2 years, you're like, whoa, this is a whole new experience,
For sure. Yeah. My metric for myself with like revisions is I have to let it cool long enough that I can't like recall full passages in my head. Yes. Like if I can recite the book back to you from memory, it has not been long enough.
That's
I
right.
have to get to a point where I can read back over it and be like, oh, hey, this is actually pretty good. Who wrote this? I don't remember this at all.
Yes, I love that moment. I'm like, oh, hello. Like, yes. That's such an ego-stroking moment, and I live for it because I'm like,
so rare,
I'm talented.
But when it happens,
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Feeling. It is a great, because usually when you're writing, you're like, this is shit. This might as well be a fucking chicken scratches. What is this? Yeah. So it's nice to have distance to then appreciate it. For sure. So do you find that your process of writing, so you've written The Hound and Neverest and then River of Souls. So how many novels would you say that you've written entirely? Are those the 3 that you've written, or are there others that
I've got stacks more. So I've got those 3, obviously. River of Souls has a sequel that was like I pushed out independently.
Okay.
The publisher was in love with River of Souls, loved the sequel. It's called House of Lazarus. Adored it, and basically emailed me like heartbroken. Like, I love this book. We can't, like, the numbers won't sustain it. Like, you didn't, the first book just didn't ever find its audience. So, I'll read anything you ever write, but we can't sell this. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to try it. So now I am not selling it, but you know what? It's fine.
It's okay. Backlist,
the
baby.
like 5 people that have reviewed it, like they'll find it eventually. They'll come around.
That's right. Yes. Backlist life. So, yes.
So I've got those. And then currently up also on Wattpad, I have 2 more books that are just waiting for that polish and fix up treatment.
Okay.
One of them is called Ashes, which is about a group of former best friends, like a college friend group that have fallen apart over the years and reunite for a funeral, and it goes horribly wrong.
Ooh, some like Yellow Jackets vibes almost.
Yeah. They weren't thinking through when they agreed to go out into the woods and scatter the ashes that they would then have to be stuck together in those same woods for the rest of that weekend.
Woods are a bad idea, always.
Yeah, it's not
it's
it's not a
fucking
good place to
nature.
be.
Yeah, no.
And then I've got a book. The working title has been Skin Thief. I'm gonna have to change that because someone much more talented than me just released a book called Skin Thief, which is just doing numbers. So you know what? Fair. I will come up with a new name for my book.
I'll
But
workshop that in my brain. I'm gonna start thinking of it like something. Yeah, we'll think on that for sure.
but it's kind of a, I don't know, a dark. I hesitate to call it a romance, but it's about a musician and a selkie who are both being held captive by a music producer
Oh,
in
okay. I'm a
different
little
ways.
concerned that it's titled Skin Thief and it's a romance. I'm like, oh
Yeah,
dear.
yeah,
Oh,
just we'll settle in on that.
scandal. That sounds
But
fun. I like it. Okay, cool. Very cool. So, what is your? Do you have to like when you're forming the book idea? Do you mull it over for a while? Do you plot it out? Are you one of those that just sits with an idea, or do you, have to have a little roadmap of where you're going? What's your process like?
I am. I guess we could call me a planster. We'll go with
Okay.
that.
Okay.
I'm a frustrated plotter because I would love to be someone who can plan it all out and have it all structured and figure out what all the beats are and just sit down and write it and knock it out really quick. And so I spend all this time and I do all of this preparation and I sit down and it immediately goes off the rails.
Oh yeah,
Every
characters
time.
fuck it up. Oh yeah.
Yeah, every time. I was like, why did I spend all of this time planning this? This is a completely different book than it started as. Okay,
Wow.
all right, we're doing
Yeah.
this now.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So you just have to have some flexibility. You have to
I
adapt a little
guess,
bit.
yeah, I
Okay.
just assume whatever the first idea was or the 12th idea, all of those are probably going to go out the door and it's going to end up somewhere completely different.
Yeah.
Just
Cool.
part of the process now, I
And
guess.
maybe those could make some like little novelettes or something that could accompany the
Right.
larger
Yeah,
story,
exactly.
Yeah. So always some potential there,
Yeah. Don't throw anything out. You never know. You just go plumb the depths for
Oh
spare
yeah.
parts.
Definitely. I know I have a cemetery of words that is just I'm like, that's so good though. I want to keep it for I don't know what, but it's good
Yep.
someday, So
Yep. I
definitely.
call mine the morgue.
Oh, I love
It's where
that.
you go to pick up spare parts, Yeah.
It's like the muse morgue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk to me about Wattpad because obviously you're very well known on Wattpad. You had great success with the Hound on there, and I have to admit, somebody take my writer card that I have not. I've not dove into the depths of Wattpad before. Like I'm not familiar with that world. So tell me all about it. How'd you get started in that? What's the process like? And then how did that turn from you putting the Hound on there into film rights? Like talk to me about that whole process.
Yeah, so my relationship with Wattpad has been a wild ride. They've treated me super well and I've had some wonderful opportunities from that, but it has also been kind of an uphill swim the entire time.
Okay.
That was a terrible metaphor. But I know
I didn't even I was like, sure, yeah, that sounds good.
those mountain climbing fish, they're
I'm
all
into
about
it.
that.
I wouldn't know. I don't go outside, so I'd be like, that could work.
Exactly. See, you get me.
Yes.
No, I know you had Alfred Alley on recently.
Oh, I did. Is that your friend?
He's the sweetest. He's the
Such a
sweetest
mess.
person.
Yes.
But so he was not lying. Like, we really are kind of holding down the fort in a lot of ways on horror on Wattpad. There are a few others. Mason Fitzgibbon writes a ton of horror and is incredibly successful on the platform. Like, she blows my numbers out of the water. But she's also playing a very different game than I am because a lot of her horror has this dark romance angle to it, and it's appealing to a different kind of readership.
A little niche there. Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where you build momentum, where it has this reputation as being a site where people read, romance, and it's for girls, and it's, there's a lot of fanfic and all of that, and because it has that reputation, that's what people tend to create more of there.
Okay.
And so people come back and do that. And so it's kind of snowballed, and that's where they've ended up. And so the stuff that does the best there is, you know,
fanfic and stuff. That's the
your
only
werewolf
yeah,
billionaire bad
yeah.
boy romance.
And
You
I will
know,
admit that I have read some fanfic, and that's the only experience I've
yeah,
had with
yeah,
Wattpad is that. And so I didn't. That's why I was like, "Whoa!" I didn't know that all this other stuff existed. I guess
yeah,
So
yeah. It's harder to find. You know, it's a much smaller little niche on there. The thing that is nice is the people who are fans are just ravenous. Like you find the horror fans on Wattpad, and they're very loyal. Like they will show up, and you can see like whenever you read in the platform, there's like a little star where you can like, you know, every chapter you read, you can put a star on it, right? And it's like people use it for like bookmarking or whatever.
yeah,
But I get notifications whenever someone stars something that I'm reading. And
uh-huh.
so I'll be like sitting there doing whatever, and my phone starts beeping, and I look over, and it's like, oh, hey, somebody started reading The Hound. And my favorite thing in the whole world is you see the stars start popping up, and then they just keep popping up. And for the next 3 hours, someone just sat down and started reading and kept reading, and I'm like, yeah, that's it. I hooked them. We
That's
got them.
awesome. What a good feeling. That has to be so fun.
It's the best. There's nothing that rivals it.
Oh, that's
As far as
awesome.
how I got started there, it's completely by accident.
As all things are.
As the
Yeah.
best things are.
Yeah.
In I guess it was 2017, towards the fall of 2017. I had recently been let go from a job kind of unexpectedly, and so I was tooling around, unemployed, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life.
Mm-hmm.
And my niece, who at the time was in her teens and was writing fanfic on Wattpad, I would go read her stuff, you know, be encouraging and whatever.
Yeah, of course.
And while I was on the site, incidentally for that, they had an open call basically for a contest that they were running. Where it was a short story contest, and the winners, like there was a cash prize, and the winners would be considered for adaptation for an episode of what was planned to be the Tales from the Crypt reboot that M. Night Shyamalan was going to do.
Yes.
I'm like, well, that sounds like a fun challenge. I have nothing else going on in my life right now.
Yeah.
I might as well enter. Why not? So I entered that. And I'm like, you know what? If I get in like the top 100 stories, that'll be a good little ego boost for me, you know? Something to put in the portfolio.
Some validation, for sure.
So I get in the top 100, and I'm like, all right, yeah, that felt pretty good. And then I got in the top 20, and I'm like, oh, no, that feels really good. And then I get in the top 10, I'm like, oh, shit. Wait, hang on. What's happening? And so I get an email with a big old fat contract in it, and they're like, we haven't announced this publicly yet, but we need to talk to you because you were about to announce you as the grand prize winner. And I'm like, excuse me, what? And so they call me up on the phone. They're from Canada, and they're very Canadian and very nice.
Oh, yes.
And so they call me up and very politely are like just talking me through the process while I'm like shouting like expletives and confusion. I'm like prancing around in my like, excuse me, what is happening right now?
Mortals, I have fooled them. Like, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So at that time, I had 69 followers on Wattpad. I'm doing numbers, right? Big money.
That's better than none, right?
So they cut me a check. I sign over all of the rights. Like everything is popping, and I'm now officially like the winner of the biggest contest they at that point had ever launched. Because this was before After had come out. Because After was like their big film debut.
Okay.
I don't know if you've watched any of those movies. There's a whole series of them.
No, now. I'm like over here, like I know nothing. Apparently, it's
all you know, college age romance type stuff. They're huge with that demographic, but I've never watched any of them.
Not I.
Don't watch that. But
they won't listen to Moths. They don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Different streams.
Yeah.
But After had not come out yet. So at this point, this was a pretty high profile thing. And so I'm suddenly just getting like this influx of, you know, readers and stuff like that. I'm like, well, this is pretty cool. Well, shit. The only thing I have on this profile at this point is this short story. I need to write something really fast because I'm getting all of these followers and they have nothing to do when they get here. So I came up with the idea for The Hound, which is kind of, it's a gothic in a sense. It's basically this lesbian couple that are newlyweds. They've been married for a little bit less than a year. They own an antique store together. And so they'll go on the weekends and find antiques and bring them back and work on them and put them in the shop. And they're at a storage auction, buying stuff, you know, sifting through the trash and looking for something worthwhile. And they find this taxidermy dog. And they bring the taxidermy dog home, and it
Yes!
quickly becomes apparent that the taxidermy dog, one, is probably not really a dog, and two, is definitely not really taxidermy.
Yes!
And so now it is in their home, and it moves around when no one's looking, and
Oh,
just
man.
stuff is happening. Their marriage is falling apart. They don't believe each other about anything. It's just chaos supreme. And so I write that, and I get that posted up, and Wattpad runs an annual contest called the Waddies. And so I entered it in the Waddies that year, and it won. The Waddies, there's a bunch of winners every year. You know, there's categories and whatever.
Yeah.
But it was a winner in one of their categories, and adjacent to that prize, I get another email where, like, here's a giant contract. We want to option this for film because we have the Wattpad Studios we just rolled out, because they released After, and it was huge.
Yeah.
And then they released The Kissing Booth on Netflix, which was also huge.
Okay, I
So
do
they
think
were
I've heard of
kinda-
that. Yeah.
They're kind of knocking it out the park with these, like, teen romances, and they're like, well, we can make other stuff. There's the market for other things. Let's try to diversify. Let's try to sell some horror. Let's try to sell some crime fiction. Let's try to do whatever.
Yeah.
So, in the meanwhile of all of that happening, Shyamalan abandoned Tales from the Crypt.
Right.
It got
Boo.
caught up in production hell. There was a rights issue. The entire project got scrapped.
Right.
So that was dead in the water. But they're like, you know what? We would love to see what we can make happen with the Hound. So I'm like, okay, yep, sure. Sign the contract.
Definitely.
Send that off. It's also part of their, they call it now Wattpad Originals. It previously called the paid program. Same thing. You can read chapters and then pay, like, buy coins so you can unlock for more, or you can earn coins on the apps that you can read for free. One of those freemium type models.
Yeah.
So it does that, and I make a little bit of residual income off of that, and then
Cool.
I've got the film adaptation in the works. So the thing no one tells you about film is it is glacially slow. Like,
right.
glacially slow. I signed the contract in 2018.
God, Jesus.
We get a rights renewal, every year. We talk about it. They're still really excited about it. We've got a script. Angela Lamanna wrote an adaptation of it. We were like, we've talked to some people. Like, they've been in talks with agencies trying to get some talent on it. We've talked to directors. We also had a pandemic in the middle of all of that, which
that's
kind
what
of
I
destroyed
saw.
filming.
Yeah, Jesus.
And then we had a big old screen actors and writers strike in the middle of it.
Yep.
So, like, any obstacle you can imagine to get thrown at it has at this point. So we'll see, but they're still really excited about it, and I'm still really excited about it. Whenever I think about it, mostly I try to just forget that it's happening, so I don't get anxious.
Right, and waiting and waiting and waiting. Yeah.
Wow, they sent me money. What is this check for?
Well, yeah. So I have to say, number one, when I read the synopsis of The Hound, I was like, this is my fucking story right here. I love taxidermy. I love gothic shit, haunted, lesbians. I'm there for it. I cannot wait to read it. Like, I'm so ill prepared that I haven't read it before this pod, because I'm like, God damn, that sounds like a story I need to, like, inject into my soul immediately. So cannot wait for that. And I wanted to ask you about, so I saw that Angela had done the screenplay for it. And so talk to me about that process. Was there any sort of collaboration that happened there? Did you guys have conversations about it, or did she read it, and how does that process go? Because it sounds like you've still been very involved in working with it. Are you serving as an executive producer? Like, how does that work?
So I am more hands-on than I was expecting to be,
Cool.
but probably less hands-on than I certainly could be, probably.
Okay.
I went into this with, like, zero expectations. It's like, yeah, take my thing, go do your thing with it, whatever. Like, I'm not going to be a diva about this.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken with Angela directly. I have a cadre of handlers at Wattpad that kind of run intermediaries on things.
Gotcha.
But they did send me her first, like, run at the script. They sent that to me, so I have read it, and I, like, emailed back, and I'm like, erasing all of the incomprehensible squealing that I was doing. And then I was like, okay, I got a little bit of feedback. Is it cool if I give some, liner notes on this?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it's your book, obviously. I'm like, okay, just
That's
checking.
awesome.
Hang on.
Yeah.
And so I'm like writing a novel of notes on my novel and like these pieces, whatever. And so I send a lot of feedback. And bless her heart, my handler, what is she? I forget what her like specific job title is, but it's like, author coordinator or something.
Right, yeah.
my babysitter.
Yeah.
She gets my email and scrolling through it like a CVS receipt,
Yeah,
and
your
she's
sonnet
like,
that
you know
you
what?
sent. Yeah.
let's hop on a phone call. Let's talk. It's fantastic. So she called me up and we chatted for a couple of hours probably.
Wow.
We're just kind of going over feedback and we're talking about, what directors I would be interested in approaching, what talent I'd be interested in. She's like, I can't make any guarantees, but if you have people in mind, like, let me know. So I named some names and, we'll see if we can manifest any of that happening.
Always manifesting here on the pod for sure. That's awesome. That is awesome. It is funny, like as a writer, as an author, when one of your books finally comes to fruition and then you can think, who would I have direct this? And it's so like different books, there are clearly different people that are in mind. Like for me, one of my books that is not coming out for a couple of years, but Robert Eggers is immediately the director that I'm like, that motherfucker would have such a vision for it, like it just, it's a very like The Witch style. And so how cool that you have actually lived that experience of being able to give the suggestion. That's just how awesome.
It is wild because that has always been one of my favorite games. Like let's fan cast this book. Let's play the who should direct this game because I'm such a like movie nerd. I get really into it. And so when you play that game and then all of a sudden you actually could theoretically maybe have that happen, it's a wild experience. It's like, wait, hang on. For real? Can I just say this? And that's okay?
Amazing.
I'm allowed?
Amazing.
Like, will any of this happen? No, probably not. But we're gonna go for it. We're gonna shoot
manifest
for the moon,
it.
man.
Yes. Well, congratulations. What a very cool experience to have. I love that. And I cannot wait to be watching it in the theater. I'll come dressed in theme. Okay. Like
Beautiful.
I will 100% be super excited about it. So that is cool. Now I do have to ask again, this is my ignorance about Wattpad, but so you said that with the Wattpad originals like Wattpad OG that you have the opportunity to receive residuals on that, but Wattpad as a whole is a free platform, right?
Yes.
Or how does that work? Like is it mostly just building an audience, or is there compensation for authors, or how does that work?
So they've got a few different initiatives in place. And they're constantly like kind of shaking that up and changing their model a little bit. I have not been as deeply involved with the Wattpad platform in recent years, in part because the niche is so small, like the audience is so small. It's like I need to diversify a little bit. But they've got a few things that they do. So there's the originals program where people can unlock pieces in their story. And they have a like sister app called Yonder that is kind of a similar thing.
Oh, I know exactly what that is. One of my friends' books is on there right now. It's at 12,000 readers. Doing great. Everybody go read it. It's
Heck yeah.
Yes. Awesome.
So that's their sister companies. That's another Wattpad initiative. Wattpad is also sister companies with Webtoons. They're owned by the same parent company. And so they do a lot of cross promotion now, which is really cool. Because Webtoons is huge, and a lot of that stuff. So that's a channel of thing. You can get picked to have your story be monetized. And there are, other opportunities. Like Wattpad does have a traditional publishing division called Wattpad Books. And so they do publish, brick and mortar bookstores, your traditional publishing package. They'll do that. They've got Wattpad Studios, so they have their film options. TV, they do a lot of, because they're a multinational company. The parent company is actually in Korea. It's a South Korean company.
I didn't know that.
Naver is the like ultimate like parent of it. And so because of that, they work in a bunch of different markets, and so they're actually produce stuff in markets that we didn't even hear about, like the Philippines. They're huge in the Philippines. They make a
Really?
bunch of stuff for like Filipino TV. Like it's a huge market for them. A lot of like Southeast Asia, like a lot of markets that you're just not even thinking about, like
Yeah.
they're in those places too.
It makes me think of like David Hasselhoff and how he was like super huge in Germany or some shit. You know,
Mhm.
like how it's like
Right,
these.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So that's
Yeah.
really cool. That is
So
cool.
there's definitely opportunities. They their biggest thing every year is the Waddies. If you
Mhm.
win a Waddy, you'll usually get some kind of attention from it.
Mhm.
You'll get approached for, some kind of opportunity. They'll see if they can do, whatever. The
Mhm.
hardest thing with the platform, like anything, is discoverability. Like
Right.
I know a lot of people who, I feel bad for them because they're inspired by like my thing. They're like, yeah, I'll go like publish my thing. And I'm like, please do,
Yeah.
Godspeed. But also, if you only get 69 followers, like, don't be shocked.
Right.
It
Right.
happens. But if you do manage to break out, they have a bunch of opportunities, and they do try really hard to find opportunities for their authors. I think
That's awesome.
they get. I think they have. Sometimes they're in, sometimes not. I think the platform has kind of a reputation
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily line up with what the company is trying to be and accomplish. So I'm always in their corner because they've been very good to me. Like they've flown me out to New York a couple of times.
Oh wow.
Last year I was a guest panelist at New York City Comic Con, and they flew me out. They put me up in a hotel room.
Wow.
I got treated like a VIP. It was bizarre.
That's awesome. Look at you, celebrity
I'm
status.
just like looking around. I'm like, I don't know why I'm here, but I'm glad that I am.
Yes.
So.
I love that. I love that. That's awesome. Well, and I feel like I have learned so much about Wattpad. I'm so glad that I'm learning all the things right now. I'm gonna go check them out and support them.
I am always happy to be a Wattpad evangelist. Like
I
honestly,
love it. That's awesome.
like I have. If you check my profile, it's just Wattpad/TL Bodine.
Yeah.
I've got a bunch of stories on there. I've got the novels we were talking about. I've got some shorts. If you scroll down, I've got reading lists of, favorite Wattpad authors. Click through those, find some people. Like, I met Alfred through Wattpad, and he's hilarious and amazing.
Yes. Beyond hilarious. Yes. Yes.
Michael Estrin is another of my Wattpad friends. He writes, like, comedy. He calls it, like, slacker noir. Like the Big Lebowski style.
I already love that. Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. He has a whole series of books that are Porn Valley Mysteries that are about a detective who is working the porn beat. He's working for a magazine that's a like porno industry trade magazine.
Okay.
And he solves crimes in the process of doing that, and it's hilarious and very
my God,
good.
That sounds great.
So there's definitely some gems on the platform.
Okay.
But you do have to slog through a lot of like very bizarre, questionable stuff to get there. But that's
Which honestly, I feel like that's a whole like we need to do another episode after I go explore on Wattpad.
Oh God, yes.
Oh yeah, like wouldn't that be fun to be like like we'll bring like bizarreness that we found on there and then share it with everyone. Wouldn't that be fun? Let's plan on doing that.
I'm in.
Yeah, that sounds like such a fun adventure. Like just going to find the most fucked up shit I can. Oh yeah, I'm in.
I'm in.
Awesome. Okay, so I have an idea for you, and I want to see what you think about it. Okay, I'm all about marketing mindset, and you talk about discoverability and whatever. Okay, I think you should get in touch with one of these crazy people that climbs Mount Everest and see if they'll take your book with them.
Oh man, just leave it up there.
I mean, oh damn. Yeah, well, I mean, I was gonna say we don't want to hurt the environment, but there are literal dead bodies up there, so like
at this point. And that don't even get me started on the amount of human feces that is on the mountain. Have you heard about this? The fecal glacier?
No.
Okay. So, fun fact about Mount Everest. I'm full of them now.
I'm literally speechless. What?
Fun fact about Mount Everest. People go up there and they climb. It's not like there's porta potties, right? Like you climb the mountain. You gotta shit somewhere, right? You're up there for weeks. Like it takes over a month to climb the mountain.
Yeah, acclimating to all the whatever the altitude and yeah.
And so what people do is they dig latrines, they dig ditches in the snow, and do their business. And okay, well the problem is most of Mount Everest, like most of the mountain, is not solid rock. Most of it is ice. It's a big glacier up there. And so it moves, it shifts around. And because of climate change, it's melting. And so there are giant chunks of frozen turds that are just working their way down the mountain. So one of the things that is a risk if you're climbing Mount Everest is you could encounter a giant glacier of human feces.
Shit log that's just
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
down the mountain for you when
Yeah.
she comes, like a
Yeah,
hallelujah.
yeah.
Oh,
Things that you can enjoy on Mount Everest: dead bodies, shit glaciers. Yeah.
You're really pitching it to me. I'm feeling like
I
I
know.
need to go climb.
I
Like
know.
I'm ready, Like when I was younger and probably 100 pounds lighter, I was like, yeah, that sounds amazing. And now I'm like, the stairs is my Everest. That's it. Like I'm done.
When I will say this, when I was researching, like part of me is like, I do kind of want to see it. Like maybe base camp. Like that would be kind of cool. It would be cool to be there, like feel the vibes, see the sights.
See the
Stay
shit
here.
logs.
Like let that be up there. We'll
Yeah.
stay down here.
Yeah.
That seems better.
It's kind of like Machu Picchu for me. My husband wants to go to Machu Picchu so bad. And I'm like, that's like a 10-day fucking hike. And then I'm learning, like, can they drive me near? And can they drop me off? And then I will. The last time that I took a really, really long ass fucking hike, we went miles and miles. Okay. And I had no business out there. All right. And I turn around when we get to the gorgeous waterfall that we were going to see. And it was beautiful. And what do I fucking see? A parking lot. I was like, I was so irate. I was like literally dead. I mean, a parking lot. So I'm like, I need the parking lot at Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
I need the parking lot at Mount Everest. Just fly me near it. I'll get to see it from afar. I'm good. Like, I don't need to touch the shit snow, apparently.
Yeah,
Like,
it's fine.
that has forever changed my life. The shit logs on Mount Everest.
You're welcome.
I have to go Google it immediately after this podcast. Like, I'm going to learn everything. I'm going to hyper obsess over the shit snow on Mount Everest. So, wow. I feel like I'm about to ask, like, what else did you learn? But I don't know if we can top that. Like, is there anything more interesting than, like, what else happens up there? Because I know about the dead bodies and the one that's in the green boots and the whatever. Like, I know about that. And it's like markers, right? People use it for like directions when they get lost and shit. So, and shit, literally shit. Okay.
Literally,
I'm so impacted. I just can't.
Yeah, it's the worst thing. It's the worst thing. Like, well, and part of what went into writing Neverest, like part of like the inspiration on that specifically, is so there's all these bodies that are up there, and sometimes they go missing, and no one knows why or how that happened. And then sometimes, because no one takes credit for it, like presumably, somebody is up there and they like, scoot them into a crevasse or something and lay them to rest in a somewhat less public place than the entire path.
Yeah.
But no one ever takes credit for doing that sometimes. And so they go missing. And then sometimes, because the glacier moves, things resurface in other places. And so there's a body that was discovered that was one of the original climbers. Mallory and Irvine were two of the first people that tried to climb the mountain. They didn't succeed, but no one ever knew how far they got. They were just climbing, and they just disappeared. No one ever heard from them again. One of their bodies resurfaced like decades later in a completely different place on the mountain. And it's like, probably the ice just moved and deposited them somewhere, but like, what if not?
Oh
what
my
if
god!
Maybe something else.
Oh my god!
These are the things that keep me up at night.
Yeah, I'm like thinking about these ice surfing bodies on Mount Everest now. Like, you've painted such a beautiful picture for me. Like, it's like dead bodies slipping around on the ice among shit. It's just, why do people go on the mountain? It sounds terrible. Wow. Yeah. I guess I don't know. I must be living under a rock inside, because I didn't realize that it does shift around though, because it is a glacier. Like, duh, but I just never thought of that. Have you ever seen a glacier in real, like, you've ever touched one?
No.
So I have a couple of times, and I went to Iceland on my honeymoon, and so there are glaciers there, and it almost felt like harder than a snow cone, but
Mhm.
less than an ice cube, you know? And
Interesting.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, and it was a very, like, I thought it was going to be more solid, I guess,
Yeah.
is what I
Yeah.
expected. And then I was fascinated to see like how everything, when it freezes or you refreezes and layers of different
Mhm.
things can be seen inside that. And so now I'm thinking about like the layers of bodies
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
trash. Isn't there supposedly a lot of trash up
There's
on the
so
mountain
much.
too?
There's
And
so
that's
much. Like,
horrible.
yeah, well, people leave supplies everywhere. They leave their tents behind. They
Ugh,
leave oxygen bottles. Food packages. Like, they leave all of the stuff up there. And one of the things that is really, man, it's just this Gordian knot of stuff at Everest, because part of the thing is, I mean, this is a sacred mountain to the people who live native in Nepal. Like, for
yes.
their whole time they've been here, like, this is a central part of their beliefs and all this.
Yeah.
And the Sherpa, the community of people that live there,
Yeah.
they're adapted to living at that environment, and so they are better at climbing mountains than a bunch of rich Americans.
Right.
And so they go up and down that mountain all the time, because that's they're getting paid to do it. They're hauling
Yeah.
your crap for you.
Mm.
And that is a tremendous amount of the economy in Nepal, is tourism with that.
Tourism.
Because you have to
Mm.
pay, you pay the government for the license to climb the mountain, and that is a
Well, that's
huge
good.
amount of what's
At
keeping their
least.
government going. So
Good.
on the one hand, it's this wonderful economic boon for that
Yeah.
part of the world. Like, it really does. Like, one Sherpa's, their climbing fees for one season can take care of a multi-generational family in a lot of cases. Like, they make
Oh, great.
really good
Okay.
money doing
That's
this.
good. Good.
But it's an incredibly dangerous job. Because,
Yeah.
like, if I'm some rich guy who's paying to go climb Mount Everest because I wrote a self-help book and I think it would look cool on the cover, that
Because they
totally
read
happens.
T.L. Bodine's book and they're like, I gotta go to see this
I
book of
know.
shit.
I'm
Yeah.
part of the problem.
Dev, you are part of the problem. Because
I'm
now
just
I'm gonna,
contributing.
yeah. Like, I'll take it with me when I go to Mount Everest myself. Yeah.
So if I'm that guy, I'm going to climb that mountain once, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'll go up and down a little bit for acclimation, because that's part of the process. You have to climb up and then camp, and then you come back down, and then you camp for a little while longer. You get built up, and then you climb a little bit further and you start over, which
What?
is why it takes you like a month to climb the
So
mountain.
you don't go to like base camp and then go to like
No.
what next? You have to come back down.
Yes. Yeah. You go up, you come back down, you chill, you go up, you stay, and you just have to do that to get acclimated to it. So when
Wow.
you do that, the poor Sherpa that you hired is running up ahead of you and delivering all of your supplies. They might make 3, 4, however many trips to carry all of your stuff. And they're going through and they're setting ropes and they're, putting hooks in the mountain. Like, they're doing all of the hard labor for you. And
Wow.
they can just haul you up the mountain and you get all the credit for it. And their lives are at risk. Like, the whole thing is kind of a mess. Like,
That is kind of
there
shitty.
was
Yeah.
there was an earthquake. I want to say, was it? I don't remember what year. I'm going to say it wrong if I say a year. But recently, there was an earthquake that caused like an avalanche, and a number of Sherpas died because they
Oh.
were caught out in it. Because they're setting ropes and they're delivering supplies, and that was actually the highest like single number fatality that has ever been on the mountain. But of course,
Mm.
that's not the stuff that people are writing,
Right.
into thin air about, right? Like,
Right.
we're not making movies about that,
No, but we should like that should be memorialized or something
Yeah,
because they're
yeah,
basically just hauling a bunch of white, like
yeah,
white rich people's shit up the mountain, and that is a bunch of yuck.
yeah.
That gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't like that.
I know,
I don't like
I
that.
know.
Yeah,
It's a mess. So, like, I think there's definitely I'm not gonna say like mountain climbing is a terrible hobby. Don't climb mountains. Like, no, it's fine.
Moths to the Flame is
Dude,
anti-nature,
we're
anti-mountains.
anti-mountains.
We
Stay
are.
home, read more books.
And I live in Tennessee in a literal mountain. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no mountains. Bad. But I do think there's a certain degree, like Everest in particular, attracts people who have no business climbing it.
Right,
which
right.
I like explicitly gets talked about in the book. Like no one ever talks about making something, their personal K2, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're climbing, any of these other big mountains, like you're probably serious, you probably know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But there are people who are taking their like 12-year-olds on Mount Everest. Like stop, don't do that. What are
That
you
is
doing?
dumb as hell. I don't know why I thought there would be an age limit. I guess I just assumed, but
Yeah. It's like if you're not putting your life at risk, you're putting someone else's life at risk to keep you safe. And I just don't think that's okay.
oh, yeah, no, like it feels abusive against the Sherpas. So I wonder what the youngest person that has ever been on Mount Everest is. Do you know
That's
the
a good question. I don't know
I'm
offhand.
Googling it. I'm
All
Googling it
right, let's
right
do
now.
it. Let's do it.
Okay, Jordan Romero, Google tells me, born July 12th, 1996, is an American mountain climber who was 13 years old when he reached the summit of Mount Everest. So, wow, 13. Yeah, there's a couple of them. There's a few, actually. Bless it. There's a 15-year-old Sherpa, female.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Man. And then to think old John Clark is up there, like
Right?
having her haul his shit up there. That pisses me off.
That is part of why Neverest, one of the characters, is a female Sherpa. For precisely that reason. Because she's out there, she's been doing this since she was, a teenager.
yes.
And she's taking care of her family, and that tension is kind of a through line there. Because I wanted to call that out. Like,
absolutely.
They deserve to get paid all of the money for putting up with our shit, but also maybe we shouldn't be leaving so much literal shit for them to pick up.
Literal shit
like,
and garbage
and
like,
bodies. Clean up after yourselves,
yeah,
kids.
like, oh my God, Jesus, yeah. Well, and I've seen the pictures too of like even going there now. It's like you have to stand in line and like wait, and it's like not even like this serene, and you get to stand on the summit for like a moment, and then you have to come back. And I'm like, is that really the dream anymore? I'm not sure. Like, there are many, many beautiful places in the world, but then again, let them all go there and fuck that one place.
True. If that means that they leave the rest of it alone, maybe that's okay. I was
just about to say, let's not encourage them to go elsewhere, because we are haters right now. Like,
I know, we're the worst.
We are like, damn. People are gonna be like, what the fuck is wrong with them? They hate nature. They hate mountains.
This is why we are not travel guides.
Right. Exactly.
We're staying in our lane.
Yeah. And I love to travel. Like, I have been to 32 countries. Like, but I don't leave my trash or my shit there. That's for damn sure. So, that is, okay. So, paranormal experiences on the mountain. That occurs in Neverest. Have you ever had a paranormal experience? Are you someone that you feel like is in touch with that kind of woo-woo stuff, or no?
I'm not. I'm one of those skeptics who wants to be proven wrong.
Yes.
Like, I really would love for something just crazy and wild to happen to me, and it never does.
Damn.
I know. It's so disappointing. I think the closest that I've had really to any kind of paranormal experience in my life, and this is such a lame, mundane story, but
I'm ready.
A few years ago, I had a cat named Zelda. And Zelda was just this beautiful, long-haired black cat, okay? And just very regal, cat.
Oh, yeah.
You know the type.
I'm into it, yes.
When Zelda, she got cancer and she died very quickly. Like, it went downhill very, very quickly.
Oh, no.
And so no one was prepared for it. We thought we had a lot more time with her than we did. And so she died. So when she passed away, we buried her in the backyard. And we had just moved into that house, like this house, maybe a year or so before. And so she was the first pet that we had that we buried back there. And so we buried her. And you know that thing that you go through whenever you have a sudden loss or whatever, and like you think you keep seeing them like out of the corner of your eye, or like you can still hear like the bell jingle or like whatever.
Yes.
And so I was having that and I was really going through it. But I would dream every single night about the cat. And I would dream that she was at the back door scratching to be let in. And like the first time I had that dream, I woke up and I'm just like so sad because I went to go check and the cat's obviously, she's gone.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. Like 2 weeks of that later, I was over it. And so in my dream, I'm like, Zelda, you have to stop scratching on the door. You don't live here anymore. I can't let you in.
Gone, girl.
Just go. Get out of here. This is not your house anymore. And then I never had the dream anymore. She just left. And I'm like, okay, wait, hang on.
Oh my god, you just banished Zelda from your dreams!
I know! It's like, I didn't think that was going to be that effective.
Careful what you wish for.
Right?
Poor Zelda in the afterlife, she's going to come up to you and be like, you bitch!
I know.
Hang out with you!
If there's glasses of water in the afterlife, she's going to knock them off the table.
Yeah.
She's
like, fuck all of you, because I was trying to come hang out, okay? And you just said I don't have a home anymore.
It was like a switch was flipped. Like, after that, like, I didn't see, like, anything out of the corner of my eye. Because it was bad, like, she was a black cat. Like, I'd always think I'd see her, like, on the laundry or sitting on the couch or whatever. All completely gone. She got the message, I guess. All right, bye.
Loud and clear. Oh, poor Zelda. That does feel a little supernatural. That feels a little.
There's something kind of spooky about that. I don't know.
I don't know. You better be careful with these powers that you wield.
I know.
Okay?
I know.
I mean, just hold it in. Okay, don't be banished in other people, because if I come up missing, everyone, we're gonna know what happened.
I know.
All right,
yeah.
everybody,
be careful.
Yeah. Lord have mercy. It'll be some of my taxidermy. Don't talk to any of my taxidermy that's in here with me right now. Don't speak to any of it. Okay, I love it all dearly. I want it to stay with me. Okay, so let's think about how science and the supernatural interweave in your stories. And I want to know how true to, fact and like biological fact, and with supernatural horror you get to really go off the rails a little bit. So how do you balance, like, okay, this is feasibly possible, this is not? How do you approach that?
Man, that is such a good question. I feel like that's something I get hung up on sometimes. Like, I'll be like writing a thing and then I'll be second guessing it. It's like, well, would that really work? And then I'll like go down a rabbit hole and it's like, Tiana, you're writing a story about haunted taxidermy. Like, it's not that serious. Chill.
Right. Like, calm down. Calm down.
It's fine. I do think there's like, there's some measure of authenticity that is helpful to draw on. If in a lot of cases, truth is stranger than fiction sometimes, and so
most of the time. Yeah.
If you delve real deep into the science and the history, like, you'll find stuff that's probably cooler than whatever you're going to make up to begin with.
Yes.
One of my favorite little tricks that I keep in the back of, like, I keep up my sleeve is I just love learning about, like, just horrifying animal facts and, like, things in nature, so that I can just, like, steal that and use that in, like, a monster design or something later.
Yes.
Because, like, there's just so many terrible things. Like, the thing with figs and wasps. Like, that's not okay.
Hold on. I don't know this, apparently. What happens with... Am I about to be horrified? I'm so ready.
Oh, no.
What is it?
Well,
what is it?
How much do you enjoy eating figs? I guess we should start
0%. I don't like figs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the thing with figs is figs are not actually a fruit. They're actually a flower. Okay? And so, the, like, dried part on the outside is the bud of the flower that's closed around.
Oh.
And then the seeds, that's why it's all seedy on the inside. Okay?
Okay.
Now, the only thing that pollinates a fig is a fig wasp. And the fig wasp is attracted to the fig because it emits, like, a pheromone.
Oh, no.
And so the fig wasp thinks that she's about to get a really good lay. So she flies over, gets in the fig, and the male figs and the female figs have slightly different, things. So she hangs out, the wasp hangs out, gets the pollen from the male fig. When they go in the female fig, they can't get back out. And so they die inside of the fig. And as they, like, decay, that feeds and nourishes the plant. And it propagates and it does its whole thing. So anytime you have ever eaten a fig, a wasp has at some point probably been dissolved inside of it.
So you are eating mushy wasp corpse inside of a fig. I mean,
presumably it's been fully digested by that point. It's probably all fig, but just keep that in the back of your mind.
I mean, I'm just saying, that's part of it. Oh my gosh, that is horrifying, and I love it. So that is definitely something to include in a story, though.
Right.
And I'm
like, at some point, like, I feel like I don't know. I want to see the version of that story with like people as art directed by Junji Ito, and maybe as directed by David Cronenberg, right?
This is such a wonderful image. I am so
Right, can
here
you
for
just
it.
imagine what that is
Yes.
going to be?
Oh
Yeah,
my god,
yeah.
fucked up is what that's going to be. And amazing. Oh my god, needs to happen. Yes, yes, I love that. And because you're so right. I mean, life, literally, truth, history, way more fucked up than most of the things we can think of. Truly.
For
So
sure.
that I'm not as much on the animals thing, but I
Mhm.
am on the history thing. And I write historical horror, so I love digging into some historical
It's
scandals
the
and
best
shit.
stuff.
Oh my god. And especially because here in America, we get like Disney history. You know, we
Mhm,
get the bullshit version, and then you grow up and you find out Columbus was a fucking asshole, and like, you know, like you learn
mhm.
all these things that are not really what happened. And so that's my favorite, is finding out. So you're exposing animals and nature. I'll
Mhm.
expose the history. It'll be great.
Perfect.
We'll just take
Perfect.
them all down. It'll be
Yeah.
fantastic.
When we get done, no one will ever want to leave the house or talk to anyone.
Right. It'll be
Yeah.
great. It'll be just
Mission
fantastic.
completed.
Absolutely. Okay, so what would you consider? You've only had that. I mean, it's definitely a supernatural experience, but not so much scary. So, what would you say
Mhm,
is the
mhm.
scariest thing that has ever happened to you?
Oh man, God. So I'm an anxious person just by nature.
Same.
Um, and I think that's probably common among horror fans. Like I get sometimes people ask me, they're like, why do you like read and watch all this horror all the time? Like, why do you want to be scared all the time? It's like bold of you to assume I'm not already scared all the time.
Right. This is a controlled type of
That's
scared.
my
I like
base
this.
level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I'm already scared. You can't do any worse. It's fine. Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of, like big existential scary stuff that happens, and a lot of it is, also really sad.
Yeah.
So that's all really downers. I will say I did have a brief encounter one time. This again is another very boring story because I
The last one
am
was
someone who
not
does not go
lame.
anywhere.
This was
I
not
stay
lame.
home.
I'm excited. Yeah.
So I lived for a while. We spent a year in Austin, and we had an apartment in the north side of Austin.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like the best apartment. It wasn't like the best neighborhood. So we had some kind of sketchy like neighbors, and there was some weird stuff that happened.
Interesting. Yeah.
But there was outside of the apartment. If you went down like this little path, there's the laundry area, and they had vending machines in there. So I went out to go, put a couple quarters in the machine, get my Coke, and come back.
Yeah.
And so when I'm coming back, this guy is standing between me and my apartment door, is on this side. Because it was probably only, I don't know, like 50 feet worth of walking. Like, I wasn't thinking about it. So I'm like in my pajama pants and my slippers. I don't have my phone or anything on me.
Oh, no.
And so he is standing right here, and he is like wild-eyed and very agitated. And he like was having some kind of interpersonal something going on with an ex-girlfriend, and he's like rambling about this and whatever. And I'm like, bro, I am not involved. Like, I just want to take my off-brand root beer back to my apartment and whatever. And he's just like ranting and raving at me about like whatever, and he needs like money, he needs a ride, he's stranded, he's like whatever.
Oh,
Because I
jeez.
guess it was one of those things where like his girlfriend kicked him out and he didn't have anywhere to go, and fuck that bitch, and like whatever.
Oh, right.
And I see something like silver flash on his waistband, and I'm like, I'm dead. I'm fucking dead. If he pulls a gun on me right now, what am I gonna do?
Right. Like, there's nothing you can do.
Texas,
It's like the
you
bear.
know?
I'm dead.
Yeah.
Like,
And so I'm just like cold sweat, like trying to talk my way out of this. And thank God it was like an old school Nokia cell phone.
Oh,
It was a
indestructible.
false alarm. But for the briefest of moments, like my soul had departed my body, and I'm like,
my
this guy's gonna shoot
God.
me. I'm gonna die. I will never make it home.
And I'm
So
gonna die with off-brand root beer in my hand
Right.
and pajama pants.
Not like this. Come on. Like, if I'm gonna die, it shouldn't be while I'm holding an off-brand root beer, wearing like
Give me the
leopard
dead
print
bread.
pajama pants. Like, come on.
Dead bread.
So I managed to convince him. I'm like, you know what, buddy? I'm really sorry that happened. I can't do it. Do you want my root beer? Like, I have nothing to offer you. And so I just got around him and like slithered back in my apartment, and I'm like barricading the door and like locking everything. Yeah.
Oh, that is okay. That is scary. That's
was,
real life scary.
In the moment, it was terrifying.
No, it's still terrifying. That is terrifying. That's no, people be crazy out here. So yeah. Wow. Okay, that's a short story in the making. I feel like you need to recount that one. And oh my God, yeah, that's scary for sure. So, what do you think about tropes in horror? Like, do you like to play with tropes? Are there tropes that you feel like you gravitate towards? What's your thoughts on that?
So I love tropes. I think tropes are tools. And I think that it's something you have to wield with some intent. Like, you have to know what it is that you're doing. I think tropes and theme is the same way. Like, there are people who are like, oh, there's no themes in my own. Yes, there are.
Yeah.
You might not be aware of them. And I think that's the most dangerous, is when you're saying things that you don't realize that you're saying because you didn't put any thought and intent into it.
Right.
So I try to be very methodical in some ways about like the stuff that I pull in, and I try when I can to kind of invert things. So a big part of the Hound, one of the reasons why I cast it as a lesbian couple is because there's this pervasive trope in like the haunted house movie where, there's spooky shit's happening and the wife is really sensitive to it. And she's like, we have to leave the house. We're in danger. And the husband's like the skeptic and, whatever. And it's like, what happens if we shake up that dynamic and there is no husband? What if we take those reactions and we just reshape them a little bit because they have a different relationship dynamic?
Yes.
And so in the book, Nat and Liz are the characters, and Liz is a mother. She has a child from a former marriage, and she's got this like intense like mama bear instinct to protect the cub kind of thing.
Yeah.
But she's also like very skeptical and kind of sloughing off a lot of the supernatural stuff that's happening. And Nat is this very kind of, free-spirited. She really just like wanted to kind of have some fun. Like, she's a little bit younger. She wants to, whatever. And now she's like kind of stuck being like a mom, but it's weird because he already has a mom. And like, who am I in this relationship to this kid?
Yeah.
She's kind of feeling that out. And in some ways, she is much more like, yeah, fuck this house, fuck this domestic life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she's really tuned into all of the spooky stuff that's happening. And so being able to kind of move the trope a little bit so that it's not falling along these like gender role lines was really interesting, and it gave me an opportunity to kind of explore some different mechanics and stuff of hauntings, which is really fun.
I love that.
The whole thing with River of Souls and House of Lazarus is their zombie apocalypse stories from the point of view of the zombies. And so I told you, I'm on Team Zombie.
I'm into that. No, same. I love that. Yes.
And so the characters, they're zombies. They're self-aware. They can walk and talk and do what they're doing, but their bodies are decaying at all times. And being a zombie is basically a chronic health condition of sorts.
Okay.
And so they're just trying to do their best and live their best lives. And the bad guy is the pharmaceutical company, basically. So it's just kind of inverting stuff.
Yeah,
so
I love that. Just going about their regular lives, and then they're going to have Mr. Smith for dinner. Like, whatever.
Yeah,
it's all good. Team Zombie, for sure. That's what hashtag Team Zombie, everybody, for sure. That's awesome. Okay, so what do you find is the most challenging aspect of writing horror?
Writing, just in general, man. Like, just getting the words on the page.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Especially so in my day life, my alternative lifestyle that happens 40 hours a week. I'm also writing professionally. I'm a copywriter. So I spend all day writing words, and then I come home and it's like, all right, is there anything left in the tank? Let's go, guys.
Yes. Yes.
So that gets really hard because it is literally always easier to just like melt into the couch and not do anything.
Right.
So, keeping up with the habit and just like getting ass in chair, hands on keyboard, getting the words out that is already a monumental task.
Oh, yes.
And I also, it's kind of funny. I did not think for a long, long time, I didn't think of myself as a horror writer, which is hilarious because I, like, historically always have read predominantly horror, watch horror. Like, horror is my jam. I love it with all of my heart. And I never thought that that was something that I was going to be any good at writing because I didn't think I was particularly scary. I'm like, I just like write stuff. I don't know if it's scary or not, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was having this, I don't know, experience, I guess. I was bemoaning this fact of like, I'd love to write horror, but I don't know if I can write horror. While I was writing a book that's called The Darkness of Dreamland, it's on Amazon. No one has read it. It's okay. But
maybe they will now. They're going to hear it now, and they're going to be like, "What is this person?" I'm reading all of them. Yep.
So The Darkness of Dreamland. Let me just pitch this to you. This is not a horror. Remember, I'm not writing horror.
Yeah.
It's about a child who is kidnapped by his imaginary friend, and is taken into a fairy world, and his social worker is the only person who can go after him and goes and finds him. But in order to do it, he has to battle his way through a nightmarescape that's stitched together of his own childhood trauma. It's
no
fine.
Horror.
I'm not writing horror.
Yeah,
no horror here.
That's a great bedtime story. Yeah, no trauma-inducing words
nice,
there.
Fuzzy, happy. But I mean, there's a unicorn on the cover. It's fine.
Damn it! I was about to say, unless there's a unicorn, but there fucking is. Of course there is. So
if it makes you feel any better, the unicorn is a scavenger. They eat dead bodies. So I don't know.
Oh, not a horror at all. No, definitely not.
Fine.
I'll pick that one up for my son.
I sent it to a friend, and they're like, "Yeah, this reminds me of Clive Barker," and I'm like, "Wait, really?"
Yeah. That's fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trauma, fun times. No, that sounds good. We have to go read it now. Unicorn horror. It's a thing. It's a whole subgenre of your own.
Yeah, it's an untapped market.
Horror that's not horror. Have you heard this phrase recently? People have been talking about cozy horror.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying so hard to explain this to my non-horror writer friends, and I'm like, guys, it's cozy horror, and they're like, how can horror be cozy? That's not. And I'm like, I promise, Darcy Coates is cozy horror. It's warm, and they're like, no, Marie, this is not a thing. I'm like, I promise you it is. It really, it just is a warm and fuzzy. I'm like, don't you have a horror movie that's your comfort horror movie? And they're like, no. I'm like, oh, well, okay, that's fine. It's fine. So, oh well. All right, are you ready for the lightning round?
All right, let's do it.
Here we go. Okay.
Bring it on.
Every question is going to be this or zombies, and then you'll have to just pare it down. It'll always be zombies. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I wish that zombies.
Yeah, just all of it. Like shitlog zombies. Zombies.
Yeah, zombies all the way down.
Okay. Would you rather be chased by a monster on Mount Everest, or be buried by an avalanche on the mountain?
Oh, these are both terrible options.
This is not a fun lightning round.
No. God, these are both terrible. You know what? I'm gonna go with monster. Even though it's gonna involve some cardio, right?
Yeah, that's too much.
At least it will be an exhilarating experience. While it lasts. They'll probably catch me real quick. But while it lasts, it will be something very new. So, you know what? I'll take it.
I could make the argument, though, that the avalanche would also be very new.
It would be new. It does sound miserable, though.
As you saw it coming towards you would be the rush.
Yeah, what else? Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay. Would you rather be trapped in a horror movie with a supernatural villain or a human villain?
I think the supernatural villain. Again, because the novelty aspect, right? If I'm gonna die, I'm probably doomed, regardless. So at least, this will be new. At least I can die knowing, you know what? Yeah, the supernatural does exist. At long last, my skepticism has been proven wrong.
Thought is which way is more interesting to go out? I'm over here I could kill the human. I'll take that motherfucker out, and you're like, which way is more interesting to die? Let me read off the menu today.
You gotta make your own fun, you know?
I love it. No, I think that's great. That's so funny. Okay. Slow burns in stories or jump scares?
Slow burns for sure.
Really?
For sure. I love me a good slow burn. If I'm still thinking about it like a couple days later, that's when you know it's getting to you.
Or fucking years later. Like there are some that I'm like, I don't fuck with that movie. I don't fuck with that book. It has scarred me for life, you know? So very interesting. That's very true. Okay. Would you rather be a character in a Stephen King novel or a Clive Barker novel?
Oh, yikes. Oh man.
You're fucked either way. I mean, you know.
Yeah. You know, that's a tough call. I feel like I am not horny enough for a Clive Barker novel. I don't think I'd fit in. Like, they're not my crowd.
I'm dead. That's hilarious.
I mean, tell me I'm wrong though. Like,
no, I know. I mean, that's a special breed to be up in those books. Very
harder than I do. That's all I'm saying.
I'm literally crying. That is like it's just the rationale behind your decisions. Oh my god, that's amazing. Okay, so Stephen King.
Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
Default. Also, I mean, given Stephen King's like track record with like fat phobia, like there's a good chance I'm the villain, right? Like there's a non-zero chance that I'm the killer in this scenario. I'm okay with that.
That is so true. Man, especially going back and reading some of the earlier works.
It's rough, man.
Boy.
Like Uncle Steve, I love you, man. But
yeah, man, but whoa. I hope we've had some growth there, buddy. Woo! I mean, no kidding with the fat phobia. That Okay. Would you rather be buried alive or trapped in a room with no doors and no windows and no air vents?
Yeah.
No air vents, yeah.
Oh, man. You know, both of those sound, again, very miserable. At least if I'm in the room, I'm not, like, as claustrophobic. Like, I can move around a little bit. Like, I'm still probably going to eventually die of suffocation. But, like, I can move around. Yeah. I can claw. Like, maybe I can try to, like, dig my way through out of something. I got some options, maybe.
You got some options, definitely. Yeah. The more interesting path, for sure. So, yes. Okay. Would you rather be possessed by a demon or haunted by a ghost?
Ah, man. Can I talk to the demon while they're in charge?
Ooh.
Because if so, it's like, you know what, dude? Give it a try. Try to live my life. I'm curious to see what you do with it. Like, again, let's have fun.
Let's go with the plot twist.
Figure it out. Like would you like my mental illnesses here? You have anxiety for a while. Absolutely. Let me know how that treats you. Yeah.
You know, that's very true. I feel like if a demon came into my body, they'd be like, "Oh no,
right?
To go.
Like,
I mean, I've got to go.
This, I'm out.
Go. Yeah, like, I need a less fucked up. This person's gone through enough. I'm good here.
The most boring person to possess. Dude, like, what are you gonna do? Like, I sit in my house in New Mexico. Like, where are you going, buddy?
Yeah, I feel like you live an exciting life. I mean, there's a lot going on up here that's very exciting. So
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. The demon is in here with me.
Yeah, he's already there. They're already there. Yeah, it's, oh my god, that is hilarious.
I'm possessing you now, demon.
I love turning the talk about turning a trope around. Being like, oh yeah, bitch, you want some of this body? Come on. Like,
bring it on.
Bring it on. Oh my god, the demon in me. There you go. We'll write a book together. It'll be, oh my god, how fucked up. That's so funny. And you know what? I have only had one other person on the pod, and I'm not gonna say who because their episode hasn't come out yet. One other person has chosen demon. Everyone else says ghost. And I'm like, but the ghost would like follow you to the bathroom. And
right.
I'm not trying to have a ghost up in there, you know, when I'm like doing my entrance for the Clive Barker novels. Like, I'm not trying to have the ghost there, you know? So that's just, I don't know. Everybody says ghost. So whoop whoop, team demon, because I think it would be more interesting too, you know? Okay. Only if my head could like spin around and do all that like weird shit, you know? I'd like to see what limits we got going on here. I think that would be interesting. Okay. Werewolves or vampires?
Werewolves. all the way werewolves.
Oh, really?
Werewolves, I feel, are a real dark horse contender. I don't think they've gotten their due.
Not quite,
I think,
yeah.
like werewolves are a little bit of a joke to some people, but werewolves are cool, man.
Okay,
I'm
so
into it.
I have something to pitch to you too. So I believe it was Elle Marie Wood was talking about how it was at AuthorCon or StokerCon or something. She was on a panel and talking about how werewolves had, where like the male wolf, and we needed like a female version of that. And so I am pitching to the world wolfstress.
Wolfstress. Okay.
Like a mistress, but a wolf.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that a vibe? I feel like it is, right? So what's your take on that? You like it?
So is that mistress in like the BDSM way? Like, are we going back to the Clive Barker here?
I mean, maybe. Just maybe. I don't know. I mean, not a requirement, but could be. I mean, I feel like there's an opportunity there.
Yeah,
so,
there's something there that we can plumb the depths of that.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. Good. Okay, body horror or cosmic horror?
Oh, they're both so good. So good. Yeah, especially like sometimes they can overlap, color out of space, like you get a little of both.
Yes.
I think at the end of the day, body horror though.
Really?
I think there's a certain extent to cosmic horror where you can just not. You can just be like, you know what? Yeah. Life is meaningless.
True.
Oh well.
Very true. Yeah.
Sucks to suck, right?
Yeah.
But the body horror, like, you got to deal with that one way or the other.
Can't get away from it, for sure. Definitely. Okay, would you rather go up against a ghost or go up against a serial killer?
Oh, man. This is tough. So, on the one hand, serial killers are just people, like, if I had a gun, this would be a very simple problem to solve.
Quick problem to solve, yes.
On the other hand, I feel like the ghost probably they probably want something. You can just, talk to them. Just figure out what their deal is, and we can solve this problem together. Like you could therapize the ghost. I mean, you could probably try to therapize the serial killer too, but I don't know if that'd work out super well for you.
Yeah. Unless it's like one of the 13 ghosts. That would be my luck. It would be some like really fucking weird ghost.
The ghost of a serial killer, and then you can't win.
No, then you're fucked all around. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So definitely. Okay, so this is our last one of lightning round. Okay. Out of the two, now I have to ask though, have you seen the Saw X movie, the most recent Saw X?
I haven't seen it yet.
Did you see the trailer with the eye sucking machine?
Oh God, no! But you just said the phrase "eye sucking machine," so I'm imagining in my mind. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it's if you watch the trailer, you'll know what I'm talking about. Also, I don't know if you're a fan of the Saw franchise, but it was.
That's what I keep hearing. I keep hearing there's a real return to form. Yeah.
So good. Because I mean, we forget, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're fine. All the rest, fuck those.
Yeah.
This last one, very good. Very good. Like literally tears. I was like emotional. Like it was, it was really good. Yeah. So, okay. So of the two, out of the two saw traps, which would you choose? The needle pit that Amanda has to dive in, or the eye sucking machine.
It's the most terrible options.
I know.
Terrible options.
I know. I'm evil. It is what it is.
Man, I'm gonna have to go eye sucking machine, I guess. Like, I mean, yeah. That sounds like it would take less time, maybe. Right?
True.
Like, if you're gonna have to endure it for a while, like, needles are gonna take a hot minute. Like, you're gonna get... It's not great. Like, maybe the eye sucking can be a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Get it over with.
Very true. Yeah. Very true. But you might not die from the needles either, though. But then you could be left with a debilitating disease. Like, it could just be...
Right, yeah, it's not great. I mean, you could just lose your eyes, maybe.
Oh, yeah, very true. Or, I mean, but then you could also get needles in your eyes, too.
But
so there's
get needles in your eyes, There's no winning.
Yeah. That actually sounds worse than the eye sucking machine. I feel like I'd go for the eye sucking machine before I would go with needles in my eyes.
Yeah.
But
see, needles in the eyes. That's peak. No thanks. I'm good.
Negative.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, everyone, if you've made it to the end of this episode, congratulations to you because you've made it through shit logs. You've made it
It's
through
a
all
real
of our
endurance test. Yeah.
I mean, truly, you want to talk about endurance? Those people at Mount Everest have nothing. It's the people that listen to Moths to the Flame. Okay, those are the real winners here. Those are the ones. So, everyone can go find you on Twitter at Glass Rat Media, correct? Or X or whatever the fuck we're calling it these days. Whatever. Yeah. And then how else can they find you online? You have a website, you're on other social media?
Yep. So I'm over on Blue Sky, and I've got invites. People need them. Find me. I'll hook you up.
Hit her up.
I've been trying to shift all of my Twitter activity over on the Blue Sky.
Are you finding success with it?
Right now I don't have like a ton of people in my circle, but everybody that's there is great, and so it's been cozy, which is nice.
That's
I think a lot of the indie horror author scene have all kind of migrated together, and so we've kind of found each other there, and so that's really nice.
Good.
Find me over there. I'm still on Tumblr, kicking it old school.
Man, I saw that in your bio, and I was like, damn, I didn't know Tumblr was still rocking.
Me and Haley Piper are holding down the fort on Tumblr,
yes.
all right?
Oh, that's awesome. Shout out to Haley. That's amazing. Okay. Tumblr.
And obviously, Wattpad, my website, tlbodine.com, keeping it simple. You'll find me pretty much everywhere that way. So
awesome. Well, we're definitely have to check that out. And my immediate homework assignment is to go research the shit logs on Mount Everest and then read the Hound. Those are the things I need to do
it in that order.
So, absolutely, the priorities here. The shit logs.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the pod. This has been such a fun episode. I've had such a blast. So I cannot wait for the one day when we finally get to meet in person and just talk taxidermy and shit on people and hate them, because we're going to be, but only inside though. No outdoor activities. Yeah.
And no mountains. None of that.
Absolutely no mountains. Anti-mountain league for sure. Pro zombies, anti-mountains. That's how we roll. So, all right. Thank you, T.L. Bodine. We'll have you back on the pod again. All right.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Bye.